Hey, good morning, everyone. It's Wednesday, October 1st. I'm Mark Dent here with Katherine Laidlaw, and this is the Hustle Daily Show. It's 2025, and people cannot spend enough on pets. Spending is projected to reach $157 billion this year, that's with the B, up from $90 billion in 2018. But all this spending isn't just going to cats and dogs, it's going to niche pets as well, like ants. We're going to take you into the world of Antfluencers. We're going to get to that, as well as the latest in business and tech news right after this. Okay, let's talk about some jobs. Federal data from the Job Openings and Labor Turnover Survey was released Tuesday and indicated that the number of available jobs was basically flat from the end of July to the end of August, stuck at around 7.23 million. That means employers still don't have a ton of demand for workers at the moment, and there are approximately 7.4 million people seeking jobs. For perspective, at the same time 2 years ago, there were more than 9 million available jobs and just over 6 million people seeking them. Moving on to AI. In case you missed it, Wired had a pretty big report on Monday that showed OpenAI plans to launch a vertical video app that's supposed to be an awful lot like TikTok. That is, except for the fact that all of the videos on the platform will be AI generated. What a shocker. According to Wired, users will not be able to upload their own photos or videos, but they will be able to use their likeness in videos. I cannot wait for that one. Let's move on to startup news. There's a startup in Dallas called History, and it's debuting Portal, an immersive AR app that brings ancient tourist sites to life. The company claims that you could physically be standing in front of the Colosseum in Rome, and then you open your phone and you can see CGI approximations of what it looked like for soldiers to march past you. For other tourism projects, History has identified the Acropolis, Pompeii, Normandy, Pearl Harbor, and the Alamo. No word yet on whether they'll get the rights to Denzel Washington or Russell Crowe for the Colosseum. Onward to aviation. According to the Wall Street Journal, Boeing is now working on a new model of plane to replace the 737 MAX, the airliner that was involved in two high-profile fatal crashes a few years ago, and which has spurred competitor Airbus to gain market share. But speaking of planes, a little bit more even interesting news in the airspace here. A company called Otto Aerospace is rolling out a private jet that makes you feel like you're in the Las Vegas sphere. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, this jet has no traditional windows. Instead, passengers will stare at digital panes that provide outdoorsy views. According to the Wall Street Journal, this design could be good for the environment and for prices, bringing down fuel usage by about 60% compared to similar-sized planes. Katherine, when are you going to try to book a ticket on one of these things?
I mean, to me, this reminds me a little of like watching a Windows screensaver or something, just like kind of zoning out.
Right, like this soothing, like add a little bit of that ASMR kind of touch to it.
Yeah, exactly. And these sort of like outdoorsy views of maybe Yosemite Valley or things like this. I don't know. Although I am a little confused about how it's going to be good for the environment, given that it will take more power, presumably, to power digital windows rather than, the OG glass windows.
Yeah, I think there's always a surprising amount of power saved when you take away windows, because even if you put the blinds over your windows in the summer or the winter, it's better for your electric bill.
That's true.
In one sense, when I first read about it, I was like, okay, this sounds terrible. I want to look out of a plane. But most of the time, at least when people are flying commercial, so many people just close the screen over the window so you can never see outside anyway. So the more I've read about this, I think the more that it makes sense.
This could be your year where you start flying private. I believe in this.
These are supposed to come out by 2030, so I have a few years to save up.
You got some time, yeah.
Finally, one more thing before we get to the big story. You might notice a new holiday retailer in the coming weeks. Spirit Christmas, a Spirit Halloween spinoff that the company piloted last year, will open 30 U.S. locations this year. They will be in the Northeast and Great Lakes regions. Pop-ups will include visits with Santa at select locations and an immersive peppermint village.
Hey, it's Anna Sale, host of Death, Sex, and Money, the show from Slate about the things we think about a lot and need to talk about more. Many of us have something going on behind closed doors, like a listener we called Elizabeth, who told us she's a hoarder.
I see mess beyond probably what most people think of when they think of mess.
We'll work through it all together on Death, Sex, and Money. Listen wherever you get podcasts.
And for more updates like that, you can subscribe to the show. We'll have more for you tomorrow.
Let's get on to our main story now. And we are talking about pets. We're going to talk not just about dogs and cats, but about ants and some of these other sort of niche pet sectors that have become extremely popular. Katherine, you wrote a little bit about this. Tell me, what's been going on with the pet industry? Just how massive is this thing right now?
So, as you pointed out, we're spending more and more on our pets. Pets was actually one of the industries that did really well during the pandemic.
Yeah.
As we weren't able to sort of go out, spend money on anything outside our homes for a while. That prompted exponential growth in pets, ant keeping included. And if there's sort of an award for the strangest YouTube channel that's taken off, the one that we're going to talk about in a bit might be a contender. But, you know, all these research reports that are coming out are saying that even though pet spending sort of increased exponentially during the pandemic, it actually hasn't slowed down. We're still spending more and more on our pets, and that trend hasn't sort of reversed in the years since then. And actually, some of the tech that is coming out of some of these sort of industry conferences is kind of amazing.
Oh, yeah? What are we talking about here?
Like air-conditioned crates for dogs. Mine is like, where's mine? Why haven't you placed the order yet? Feeders that can scan microchips before dispensing food. So great for anyone who's, you know, not going to be able to make it home for dinner time. There are apps that suggest like home recipes based on a pet's dietary needs and activity levels, just sort of like all of the tracking and nudging tech that we're seeing for human fitness can be sort of extrapolated into pets, and that's starting to happen, which I find kind of charming and kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. What's also just ridiculous to me is, like you were saying, that the pet spending has just kind of accelerated since the pandemic. Like I can remember going back 5-6 years ago, 2019, I was working on a big story about pet spending then, and just thinking of like how big of a deal it was then. And it is literally almost double what it was in 2018. And if you look at 2018 and you compare that to like, I don't know, the 1980s, people didn't even spend anything on pets. They bought their pets food and then litter if it was a cat. Otherwise, there was no other pet spending. I mean, it's still shocking to me just how far this industry has come.
Totally. And the fact that it's in not just single digit, not just double digit, but now triple digit billions of dollars, that is an astronomical amount of money. And even if you look at sort of cultural practices, the idea that dogs might sleep like on your bed is kind of laughable. I think when you think about back in the 70s or 80s, like the dogs were sleeping on a rug on the floor if they were lucky, right? I sort of wonder what that says about us more broadly, that we're sort of funneling so much money into our furry companions here.
Yeah. And speaking of furry companions, not all of them are furry.
That's right.
Because you also went really deep into this Antfluencer.
So when I was reading about pets and sort of how the pet industry had continued this exponential rise in the last few years, I got kind of curious about the other category. Like I was coming across statistics that showed that, you know, there's 68 million dogs apparently kept as pets in the States, 49 million cats. Like these are huge numbers. And then I saw that there are 6 million pets that are classified as other. So, you know, a little maybe more like offbeat. Rabbits, hamsters. We grew up with a hamster, mice, guinea pigs, and ants. It turns out that there's this YouTube channel that has 7 million subscribers. There are sort of double-digit millions of viewers on these videos. And the channel's called Ants Canada. And it was started by a guy who used to be a pop singer. He had sort of made it quite far on Canadian Idol, which is our, you know, little American Idol spinoff for the Canadians among us here.
That once featured Carly Rae Jepsen. I mean, it wasn't that little.
That's right. Pride of Canada. So he had sort of made it quite far on the first season. And, you know, I think he's sort of tooling about in the music industry and nothing is quite taking off. And so on the side, he is keeping ants. He'd always been interested in ants, you know, the classic kind of kid story of like turning over a rock in your backyard and looking at what's underneath and what kind of icky, creepy crawlies run outside. And so sort of on a lark, he started filming these pictures of these ant farms he was keeping in his parents' basement. And the channel somehow took off. And if I sound mystified, it's because I am. Like, I don't know truly still what prompts someone to park it in front of their screen and watch videos of ant farms for hours.
But it's not even just videos now. Mikey Bustos, this pop singer, like, it's a business. Ants Canada is selling products, and quite a few of them.
That's right. And so his first ant video was posted in 2010. And then there were a couple of years of sort of growing pains. He moved permanently to the Philippines and so shut the company down for a hot minute and then started it back up again. And so in addition to riding the content creator wave that was sort of happening at that time and continues to be quite lucrative for people, he started developing products of his own. And it came about pretty organically. The way he tells it, followers of his channel in the early days were asking him if he could design sort of similar farms to the ones that he had built for himself. And he would sort of put them together, send them off, charge $50 and not think too much of it. And then a few years later, he decided to get serious. And since then, the company has apparently sold hundreds of thousands of these ant farms, and they retail for around $100 per unit and up, depending on sort of what gear is included and what books you want included and things like that. And it's a little more of a serious take on that sort of old school, like, I don't know if you remember these, but the Uncle Milton's ant farm toy that was sort of sold in Toys R Us, things like that. So that company did quite well for many years. Apparently they've sold 20 million units and still operating, but it's really more geared towards kids, where the Ants Canada product is a little more sort of equipment.
Hardcore ant fans.
That's right. Hardcore ant things. For the Antfluenceable.
Yeah. So then ants have become a big deal, at least for Mikey Bustos and many others. What is next? What insect are you looking at? Is it a roly-poly or what?
I mean, I'm really waiting for centipedes to have their moment. I think we're almost there. That's where I'm putting my money.
All right. Well, one day we will be on this podcast discussing the first centipede influencer. That's going to do it for us. So thank you, everybody, for tuning into the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of Hubspot Media. Our editor today is Robert Hartwig, and our executive producer is Darren Clarke. We've got a lot more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. So if you're not subscribed, please go get signed up at thehustle.co/email. And you can always follow us on Instagram at The Hustle Daily. We will see you tomorrow.
Look, I'm going to be straight with you. Everybody's talking about AI, but most people are just playing around with ChatGPT instead of actually making money from it. That's why we dropped the ultimate crash course to create your own AI side hustle in 7 days. We're talking real frameworks and strategies from the pros, like the founder of The Hustle, Sam Parr. It includes mini guides, templates, the whole 9 yards, stuff that takes years to figure out, condensed into 1 week. Stop what you're doing right now and grab it in the show notes. Your future self will thank you.